どうも、こんにちは、リトです。今回はね、このひどい画面から始めていきたいと思います。これね、なんかスチームでね、セールだったんですよ。72円らしくて。なんか元の価格が720円で、なんかセールですんげえ、ね、720円から72円というね、めちゃめちゃ大セールだったし、面白そうなんで、本当はみんなとというか友達とやろうってなって買ったんだけど、なんかマルチプレイヤーモードがなんかよくわかんなくて、とりあえずね、ストーリーモードがあるらしいから、ストーリーモードを撮って、ちょっと YouTube に上げたいなと思って今撮っております。ワンちゃんバンクラうかもしれないね。これ怖いね。まあ、そうならない。でもね、一応、スライド言った YouTube に上げてる人何人かいたから、多分大丈夫だと思いたいですね。はい。なんか、ね、男性器の一日というか、人生をなんか描くゲームらしい。わかんない。よくわかんない。やってみよう。ニューゲーム。音がもう気色悪いんだよな。あげようか迷ってるわ。あれおお。ダメレフト。あ気持ち悪い。いやー。何これうんちだ。これああ。どれ何今の何これおー気持ち悪い。何これあれか。どっちが前かってことね。あれ、食べるのは、なんか、でもなくないサマサマには、あれついてなくないかな。しょうがないか。リンゴが落ちない。こうやって。気持ち悪いよ。ね、この種何黒くてよかった。いやー。何ハンドボックスこれね。何すんこれ。No one ever do. んだよ。何いじめられんの何僕いじめられちゃうのわかんない。うわ、なんか違う。気持ち悪いよ。何キモい。これトラウマな。
John woke to the shrill cry of his alarm clock and lay there, rigid, his usual morning condition. But there was another reason John couldn't get out of bed. It was the weight. A weight that had nothing to do with his muscles or fat or sweaty blankets. John was weighed down by a piece of paper. The invitation to his high school reunion. From across the years, the words he'd heard in the schoolyard were still clear. You're a loser. No one will ever love you.
誰もお前のことを愛さないって。何こいつすげえなんか太ったらしいね。そうなのかなわかんないけど。何これ何このティッシュの量。僕もゴミ箱の中ティッシュの量こんぐらいだけどね。最近さ、花粉が始まったじゃん。マジで鼻水が止まらなくて、 こいつみたいに多分ね、あれをしてさ、ティッシュを埋めるようなやつじゃないよ、僕は。ちょっと誰か勘違いしたのか知らないからね。何これ？
John threw on an outfit. He didn't feel comfortable wandering around his home naked.
なんか来たし、きっしょ。
John needed to shower and wash off the sweaty stink of desperate sadness.
シャワーも浴び
Most
る。
people would shower, then dress. But John was running late.
服着たまま入るなよ。誰な。シュパ。オッケー。まとめて。あとあれでしょ？これでしょ？やんの？もしかしてこっち？うわー気持ち悪いあ、きっしょいき。よいしょ。よいよすげえ。開け。これ。おー、あ、トイレ。確かにそこからするね。すごい服着たい。あ、なんかね、ネクタイしたし。あ、入るたびに変わるんだ。何がいいかな。これ。やだ。なんか緑色の服ないの？なんか、やだ。これやだ。なんか、パンイチと。何これかな？そう、だから今も
John had 3 months
鼻
until the
声なん
reunion
で
to
す。すいま
turn
せ
his
ん。
life
鼻詰
around.
まってる。
First, he needed to clean up.
うわ、ゴキブリがいるよ。きっしょ。何？あ、割っちゃった。これでいいの？マジで？
The only reason he'd ordered so much takeout was because Delilah, the delivery peen, made John feel butterflies in his testicles.
Take care of leftover. 何？ビール？
John called it his
なんだこれ？
study, but it was basically for games
テン
and
ガ？
porn. Mostly porn.
どんだけ、どの部屋にもあれがあるじゃん。ゴミ箱と、その中の大量のティッシュ。おい。お前。アル中だな。アル中じゃねえわ。あれだわ。わかんない。何？待って、へい、痛いね。そうだね。いやー、何これ。きっしょい。こんなんの気持ち悪い。なんでケツの穴の中入れるんだよ。ああ。だって鼻かんでいいっすか？ああ。何？いや、マジでレフトオーバーって何？このゴキブリちゃんたちのこと？でもこうやったらどうすればいいかわかんないよ、僕。これとかなんか。できない？待って、何すんの？もうきっしょいな、お前。上がれ。 今やってることが合ってんのかすらもわからねえ。なんか部屋になんかないかな。出れないの？あれ出れちゃった。いいや。
John had left his apartment late, but if he caught the express bus, he might make it to work on time. John didn't really like his job.
いやー、ごめんなさい。玉取らないね。
He could pay his rent, and two, Barbara. Currently John's top candidate for his reunion
ご
date.
めんなさい。いや、そうなんで。もう玉が引っかかる。車、バス？こっち？
John noticed a moderately attractive peen waiting at the stop.
うるせえな、
He
お
tried
前。
to start a conversation and did not get the reaction he'd hoped for. It was probably because he was a minimum wage peen. She could probably sense it.
僕も吐きてえな。おお、入れた。だからさっきのあれやってないのかちょっと
The office hummed with cold fluorescent lighting. The air was cold and stale, lifeless. How long had John worked here? Long enough to deserve
レー
better.
シュコープいいんだ。ずっとドイツにいたのはいいけどさ、でもなんてからっきしだからさ。うわ、誰かいる。ちょっとセクハラしとこう。うふふふ。なんか、なんだろう。冷めた空気だっていうのはなん
John
か。
was late, but he felt daring. He could sneak into the office through the archives, or he could stroll through the front entrance with enough confidence to bluff his boss.
何これ？あなた
Predictably,
ボス？
he chose the direct
ごめ
route.
ん。ちょっと交わろう。やだ、気持ち悪い。もしかして怒ってる？ごめんなさい。ジョン、マジでただの迷惑男じゃねえか。
John was nearly trampled by the morning coffee rush.
何コーヒーラッシュ。僕もじゃあコーヒーいただきたいです。何？そんな詰まってる？何これ？これ24って何？いや。
Barbara would definitely not be interested in dating John if he was unemployed. He had to get to the quality assurance department.
くしゃみ出た。ほぼ聞いてなかった。中やーす。つらい。何これ？
There might
何
be a
これ？
faulty
天が
dildo just waiting to cost the company
ギルド
millions
だっ
in
て。
lawsuits. John would
ギ
have
ル
to
ド？
test
ギル
them
ド？
all.
ねこれ。バイブを50個試せ的な。買っちゃったかもしれん。こういうことだろう、あれ。
Every atom of John's rectum began to vibrate with the frequencies of pure pleasure. His orifice was a paradise. This vibrator would end all wars. It was good.
It was good. 気持ち悪い。これ50回もやんなきゃいけないの。これ受け止めよう、あれ。でも気持ちよかったらしいです。
That one was good too.
これもよかったって。やだ、これ50回も。何これ？
series, the most advanced vibrator on the market. Sweet mother of no, John, that's too much pleasure for one anus to handle.
なんかあれ穴やばいことになってない？っていうか僕のオフィスの向かい側のやつめっちゃ皮しわしわなんだけど、これは2人でやるもんだよ。これ2人でやるもんでしょ。あれでしょ、同時に入れるんでしょ。 わからんけど。いやー。
John's butt hurt, but his heart was proud. If that vibe had gotten out into the world, it could have injured a customer as badly as it had ravaged his anus.
Whoa.
The boss arrived and congratulated John on taking one for the team and jumping on the hand grenade, or in this case, putting it up his butt.
あれねえ、バンドエイドが取れ
John was
な
having
い。
trouble following the conversation because he was quite high on suppository painkillers. And then the boss said it. Promotion. Finally, the company was recognizing John's hard work and
これ
ignoring his
ジョン
minor
悪くない
faults
今
like
の。
lack of talent, constant lateness, and flatulence. John's new office smelled like polished wood and success. John's success. Sam dropped by. He'd heard John had been hurt. John said he was fine. He wasn't a softie to complain about a mildly ruptured rectum. Besides, he had a promotion to celebrate. John had met Sam in college during a sports ball game. He'd given him some stiff competition. Not stiff enough. They'd started at Flesh Corp product testing together. Nothing builds a friendship like a long day of dildo mounting.
音がもうやばいんじゃ。
Yes, John had known Sam for a while. But John couldn't hang out with Sam. He had a reunion to prepare for. He was going out with Barbara tonight. He just had to ask her. Everyone was quiet, listening to the presentation. A good moment for John to ask Barbara out.
ねえ、バーバラどこ？バーバラどこ？ねえ、バーバラ誰？バーバラ誰？
Warmer.
あなたがバーバラ？バーバラ？バーバラ？あなたがバーバラ？
Barbara agreed. Well, she nodded. Sort of. Things were really going John's way. John tried to act as suave as possible and listened to Barbara talk business. He didn't want to blow his chances at long-term love and short-term sex. Barbara began to talk about monthly feedback figures, and John started to zone out, imagining him and Barbara at the reunion, a power couple. She would make his classmates sick with envy. If he could get her to tone down the boring chatter. John's balls were gripped by certainty. Barbara was the perfect date for the reunion. John thought he would impress Barbara by going behind the bar and showing the bartender a thing or two. Despite Barbara's protests that it was unnecessary, John knew that a true gentleman should follow her home. He was excited. There was still 3 months until the reunion, and he'd already landed his perfect date. All he had to do was seal the deal.
何言ってんのか全然わかんないんだけどね。
Barbara thanked John for the evening and politely did not invite him inside for coffee or sex, even though John had dropped some pretty obvious hints he'd be into both, or just the sex. Door slammed on John's hopes. He didn't understand. He'd laughed at all Barbara's pie chart jokes. He'd listened to her boring stories.
あ、無理だったっぽい。ごめんなさい。どうすればよかったの？
The blank eyes of the lawn flamingos were witnesses to John's shame.
これか？これを持ってけばよかったのか？これ何？
John began the lonely walk home, thoughts tumbling like shoes in a dryer. He had done everything wrong. Barbara had led him on just to humiliate him.
ねえ、バーバラ、家入れてよ。いいよ、もう帰るから。 なんかあれだね、ジョンがなんか嫌われ者みたいなやつに取ってたらしくて、で、なんか会社行ってもなんか邪険にされて、仕事やってもなんかブーブー言われて、女の人誘ったけどなんか、ねえ、夜いたすまでには。
Some key to attracting sex. But John was shooting blanks.
ぐらいわかんなかった。いざ食いたいの。この中入れないの？
Then it hit John out of nowhere. Stuff. He had the success. He just needed to show it off. But where was John going to get all the stuff he wanted? John needed a sign.
バッドローズっての。こっちに鼻をかも。
He waited outside his local buttload store for it to open, eager to spend his promotion bonus on stuff. The best way to impress women.
開くまで待たなきゃいけない。何やってるの？おお！
If it was buttloads of stuff John wanted, then he would need buttloads of cash.
お、何これ何これ？すごい。ATM、へえ。もっと来たいんだけど。お、食っといてよ。そうそうそうそうそうそう。え、何お前両替機なの？させないんだけど。
There's nothing like a rectum full of money to make a peen feel like a man. Generosity overwhelmed John.
ごめんて、お前そんな弱かったんか。ごめんて。開いた。ごめんな。倒れてるわけじゃないのか。ちょっと、挟まっちゃった。挟まっちゃった。これはじゃあ、こっちを前にして。
Suddenly it occurred to John that he was going to make a lot of choices.
何これ？
And every one of those choices would tell the world who he was. Did he want cheese or sausage?
チーズもソーセージも欲しい。うまい。うまい。ああ、うまい。
How could John decide?
うまい。安いっすね。
What would a date think when they sat in John's home? Comfort or style?
これ500でこっち2500なの？こっちがいい。こっちがいいです。こっち。
John went with comfort. Plus, it matched the couch he already had. John weighed up all the differences, but this was a tough choice. Something told John this was the TV for him. John chose the extremely, obviously bad TV.
バットにしちゃったっぽいわ。
John realized that it was only 2 months and 29 days until the reunion. Time flies. Cactus or rose? Was John a rugged hero or a romantic poet? If John grew his own flowers, then he'd save on romantic gestures in the long run.
何？死ねってこと？
There was nothing John could take with him to the grave.
おお、びっくりした。こっち。
Except his coffin. Death is inevitable. Style is not. John liked to get his pizza delivered. That way he could see Delilah, the delivery peen. She always made him smile.
パイナップルがいい。何
Delilah
のパイ
thought
ナップルか知
pineapple
らん
on
けど。
pizza was gross. This
僕
way,
全
she
然
would never know
ピ
John's
ザにパイナッ
shameful
プル乗ってるの好
tastes.
きだよ。うまいもん。
What bedding would
どっちが
Delilah
いいかな
prefer?
僕は正
John
直
couldn't
シンプ
help
ル。シンプルでいいんだよな。シンプルでいいわ。
Regular sheets, just like the regular pizzas he regularly ordered. Devoid of any sense of style, buying new clothes would be John's toughest challenge.
これいいじゃん。これいいじゃん。何に使うかわからんけど。なるほどね。
The silky fabric made John feel like a celebrity. A nice fit, but could John pull off the color? When was the last time John had been to the beach? John might want to take the hem up a bit.
でもこれにさ、これ。こいつど
John
っから
decided
そ
to
んな
go
か
with the
金
outfit. Music, the food of love. Should John go retro sophisticated or just retro?
どっちがいいかな僕でもこっち聞かないかなどっちがいいじゃんって
John's personal nostalgia was more important than sound quality. Every can was made of metal, pulled from the bones of the earth, wrestled to the surface and smelted in roaring furnaces. All so John could buy peas preserved in salty water and stick them up his butt.
どっちも取っちゃったいや
John's new purchases were on the way to his apartment. All he had to do was invite a date over. One look at all his stuff and they'd be overwhelmed with sexual desire. John felt proud and also hungry. It gave him an idea. He should invite Delilah over for dinner.
何お前そんなモテてねえだろバーバラもナイラもそんな声かけるなよ現実を見ろよ
John was excited. Delilah was on her way. He just needed to set the mood to romance.
ライラ来るのライラ来るのマジで音楽つけてくそ取って取ってねえ取ってよあとはローズローズ
John hoped she didn't have allergies.
はいはいはい
That
はい
must be Delilah at the door. The door opened and there was Delilah. John gulped down his nerves and invited her in. John could tell that Delilah was impressed by his stuff. It was time to crank up the mood to seduction. John wanted to offer Delilah wine, but he'd already popped his cork. Delilah started looking as nervous as John felt. He assumed it was because she was shy too. They really were compatible. Of course, at the reunion, he couldn't mention Delilah was a delivery peen. That would be embarrassing. Delilah suddenly headed for the door. John hadn't even paid.
何帰っちゃうの帰らないでよ
And just like that, John was alone again. Delilah hadn't even looked at his stuff.
ワインあげなかったか
Rejection
ら
burned. John felt insignificant. He had everything he wanted. The job, the money, the stuff. So much stuff.
全部壊せだっ
He
て
wanted to
任せろ
all of it.
任せろ
Shove it into the abyss. His stuff didn't matter.
でも言う
He
ても
was a
ほぼ全部
shaft
壊
in
れ
a
てんだ
machine. A lonely piston pumping away like all the others in his rigid
So
place.
bad.
Nothing special about him. Why should Delilah or Barbara or any other peen be interested in dating him? Your dead technology tapes. He was just like everyone else and they could tell. John wanted to be special, but he had to face the numb truth. He wasn't. And all the money and stuff he'd ever accumulate wouldn't change that. He thought it would make him unique, but it just made him more like everyone else. He should leave it all. Get out of this little town and go on an adventure. See the world. He was a boring corporate drone, but he didn't have to be. He could be a traveler, exploring jungles and climbing mountains. He could visit the wonders of the world and get his picture taken. Like Penny Island, the unspoiled paradise he'd seen on TV. That was it. John had to travel.
旅に出ようだって。
Bags packed, John was ready to put 5,000 miles between him and his problems.
なんでさ、こんなところにもさ、ティッシュ転がってんだよ。イェーイ。行きまーす。
John was so close, he could almost smell the freedom of the skies. Security sent John back through the detector.
なになに
John had forgotten he had his nail clippers with him. He'd have to buy another pair soon, or he'd look ridiculous.
どこだよ、どこを切るんだよ。うわ、気持ち悪い。
When the acceleration of takeoff had slackened, John felt a sweet relief. He had left his worries on the runway. He was up in the clouds, on his way to adventure.
やべ、動きね。おー、なんだこれ。
John's adventure had begun at last.
ライオンがいる。
Clearly, it was a small world after all, and also a flat one. That was going to piss off the globeheads.
ああ、なるほどね。全部旅しようみたいな。中入れないの？旅しようにもどうやって旅するんだよ、こんなの。写真スポットが何なのかわからない。あれ？こっちには何もない感じ？何もあるんだ。痛い、そろそろ話して。でんだっての。何もなさそうだな。こんにちは、日本かよ。おい、日本イコール鳥だと思うなよ。これは中国だな。これはあれ入れる。これどうすんだ？噛みます。よし。これをあれ？ こんな簡単じゃないの？おお、ほらほら、やっぱりこうじゃん。お金ないだろう。
John was having fun, but something told him he needed to go home. Probably his empty bank account.
使い果たしてそろそろ帰るかみたいな。
John was on his way back home. He was out of money, but money can't buy love. What it can buy are the experiences that had made John a more interesting and developed person, with 100 Buckstagram photos to prove it. Finally, everything was going smoothly.
見てみて、この体勢。
John felt good to be back on the familiar ground of home, but he would feel better to be on the familiar mattress of home. That's not John's bag.
あれ違うの？やべ。あ、これかな？
Not that one either.
これだろ？あ、違う。これ。ちょっとちょっと出てきて。出てこなくなっちゃった。ちょっとどうしよう。あ、出てきた。止まっちゃった。どうしよう、止まっちゃったよ。まあいいや。じゃあこれ持ってこう。フィールドがある。どうしよう、止まっちゃったよ。荷物が。まあいいや。帰ろう。
Despite John's swell of fresh optimism, traveling was exhausting, and he just really wanted to get home and get some sleep.
もうええよ。なんだよこれ。こいつの一日というか一生というかなというか。待って、入ります。危ねえ。帰れないところだった。なんであんた？ん？なんか、最初のとあんまり変わらないけど、やってること同じなんだよね。これだな。ラブレターだ。彼女のロッカーはどれだよ？ここにあるの？そもそもこの中にあるの？こっち？あ、ここね。誰もお前のことを愛さないなんて。
Another nightmare. John's stress about getting a date for the reunion was making him think of her. Harmony. He hadn't seen her in years. Would she be at the reunion? John shook off the thought. He wasn't a child. He was a fully grown penis. John, why is the bathroom barricaded?
For
skin's sake, is that a swan? John had no idea how it had gotten into his home or why it hated him so much. It would probably be best to leave it alone.
ねえ、こううんち。シャーってお前。うんちだ。 ごめんなさいってば。なんか、かわいそうになってくんな。なんかいろいろともうないけど。あったものも、テレビもソファーも全部ないけど。
John's butt started to buzz. Had he left a vibrator up there? Whatever it
何
was,
何
he should get it out.
何携帯何
John's old phone. They really were indestructible. It was Sam calling.
なんて
He wanted to check in on John. The travel looked fun, but it was so sudden. Was John okay? Sam was such a softie, always worrying about feelings. John had only one feeling, and it was the feeling of being awesome. He could drop Sam a text, but John was on a mission. The reunion was getting closer, and he had to get a date.
ユニオンって何
Fortunately, John knew exactly where to find love.
なんかいます。なんだと、花を。持ってこう。
John held his breath. He was about to meet his match. He had to reassure himself he could do this. He had a good job. He had nice stuff. He had traveled. He was ready to find love. On Weena, where all his sexy travel photos would give him the pick of the pack.
いいなってね、これ。あー、マッチングアプリ的な。
Too skinny. Hot. Too short.
操作がしづらいんだが。
Too much foreskin. Not enough foreskin.
でもさ、じゃない
Sexy. Very nice. Bangs. Nice shaft.
男性同士でさ、なんか変じゃない普通男性器、まあ、
Yep, the pick of the pack.
これがもうあれなんかなね。男性同士いけないみたいな感じな。ね。ダメだよね。これどうすんの
Yes! John had the pick of the pack.
やったなんかマッチしたらしいぞ。アマンダ。
John valued honesty in a date, but he had been expecting a different kind of date. A sexy and much more...
やだ。君とは交尾したくない。やだ。このジョンも大概だけどさ。アイスクイーン。
John was scared of getting circumcised so late in life.
イエーイ。スケート楽しい。あいて。
Better put that on ice. It'll be okay, John. Chicks dig scars. I hope.
何こいつトカゲの尻尾みたいな感じ
After the reattachment surgery, the doctors had told John to rest. So he did, for 6 hours.
あ、なんか手術した跡がある。
Ugh, salty.
Salty? ここかな。切ったね
John was in stitches. Karen had invited John straight over. She was not fooling around. Very exciting. And now she wanted him round the back.
なになになになに。あ、チューリップが。
Karen let John know that the cake was only for the kids. So was the candy. And the piñata. And that she'd be back in 1 hour.
こいつらの面倒見なきゃいけないのか。やだな。いいよ、全部壊しちゃっていいよ。いいよ、いいよ。僕ん家じゃないから。自分家じゃないから何したっていいよ。いいよ、いいよ。いいよ、いいよ。いいよ、いいよ。みんな寝とる。何？無人島？何？
John laughed at Melody's hilarious bullfrog story. She was adorable. Everything was going perfectly.
おー、そんなわけないじゃん。死ぬくね。こんなの死ぬくね。あ、メロディー。
John never saw Melody again.
メロディー死んなんかいな。かわいそうに。
So far, Weena had been a parade of weirdos and rejections. If this date didn't work out, John vowed to give it up. But maybe this time, maybe today would be his day. Sharona sighed and said, "You'll do."
この人41歳でしょ。ジョンいくつなんか知らんけど。やめとけって。人に相手探すのよくないよ。
John felt a little underdressed and a lot overwhelmed. He was surrounded by strangers, and Sharona was glaring at the muscular groom. At least John hadn't missed out on the cake. John realized that Sharona had only brought him to create some penis envy. What a terrible plan for so many reasons. John got excited. They were going to cut the cake.
わあ、ケーキを。
He's mine! Sharona screamed as she launched herself at the newlyweds.
何やってんだ？
Suddenly, penises were up and yelling, "No, he's mine!" It was a no-holds-barred cockfight.
おお、俺死ぬ。死ぬって。気持ち悪い音が。うわ、もうなんか殺人鬼がいるよ。とりあえず混ぜて。ここは出ろってのが出ろって無理だって。怖いちょっと。死んどるやつもおるがな。出せ僕を出せ。うおー。
As John dodged flying glasses and cake, he felt a stab of envy. The groom had dozens of penises after him, and John had none. It was just wrong.
出なきゃ殺されるよ。
John left the screams and explosions behind him. It was a disastrous end to his online dating. He had tried everything, and it just wasn't good enough. He wasn't good enough. Swans were so simple. If you gave them bread, they liked you. But you can't take a swan to a reunion.
おいって。うり。うれ。ブ。右がやらそうやぜ。痛い。取っ
John wanted what that groom had. Love. Real love.
Real
The
love.
kind that makes penises fight to the death.
痛いわ。痛いって。僕が一体何したって言うんだ。降ります。
Days later, the question was still bugging John. Why were so many penises in love with the groom, but no one loved John?
It wasn't fair. John deserved attention. He had money and Bookstagram pics of his adventures. He even still had quite a lot of stuff. What did that penis have that John didn't?
なんでジョンにはなくてみんなにはあるもんはなんだ？みんなにあるのにジョンにないもんはなんだみたいなの言ってるわ。筋肉。そう、筋肉。
Then it hit John. That penis was so strong and hard. That's what everyone wanted. That's what John wasn't. That's what John had to be to find love.
なるほどね。筋
It was
肉をつけ
time
な
to
きゃいけないって
hit
こと。
the gym.
Hit the sack. 殴ってもないがな。
John arrived at his local gym. A
もう
part
よ
of him
く
couldn't
ない？
believe
もう
he
い
was
いん
here.
だけど。
He just wasn't a gym penis. But John had tried everything
ジム
else.
ピーナスなん
If
て
he
いい
wanted
よ。
to get the perfect date, he'd need to sign up.
なるほどね。あ。今回はここまでにしますわ。これどうやってやるんだろう。メインメニューでいいのかな。だから多分ここからいけると思う。いけなかったらまあ、ここまででいいや。まあ今は多分ね、価格ものって720円になっちゃってると思うんですけど、わかんない。この続き上げるかわかんないけど、よかったらね、皆さんもね、やってみてくださいな。割と気持ち悪いっすよ。ね、僕ができなかったこともできちゃうかもしれないから、やってみてください。てなわけで、見てくれてありがとうございました。じゃあな。